So here's an overview of Lightroom's interface. At the moment, I've got it running in full screen mode. You don't have to have it in full screen mode, of course. You can always go to exit full screen and pop it out into its own window. I'm going to leave it in full screen because I quite like it. Now along the top here is your toolbar, and you can see you have different sections. The library is where you work with your current library of images. Develop is where you start to tweak and change any of your images, and those are the two sections we're going to be looking at for the most part in this course. There's also features like map, because you can geotag pictures. You can see where your pictures were taken on a map of the world, if that's something you want to do. You can create books and slideshows, and you can also print your images, and you can create web pages. Now, we're not going to look at these because they're not really in the scope of this course. We're going to spend most of our time dealing with developing your images, because that's probably what you will want to do in the first instance. If I just click on any of these images, I can open in a full screen mode. You can see on the left hand side here we have various different windows. Now, Lightroom uses essentially a single window interface. It doesn't have lots of pop-ups. So what you might end up doing is kind of showing and hiding these sections some of the time. But it's quite a nice way to work. So you don't have lots of windows to juggle all the time. You can have everything going on in a single main window. On the left here, I've got all my different catalogues. I can see a map of my hard drive structure for when I want to import things and export them. I can create collections, which, as you might expect, are different kind of sets of photos. And then down the bottom here, I've said we're not going to really delve into this too much, but this is where you can choose destinations where you publish your finished images. So you can send them to the hard drive. You can send them to various other places, like straight to Facebook, if you choose to set these up. The main part of the window here is where you do most of your image editing. You've got various different view types. You can view the grid, you can view single images, you can have a comparison view between images. You can basically add different images in here and have lots of them on the screen at the same time. And there's also face detection, which again, we're not going to look at in this course. That's a little bit like the same kind of face detection that works in Photos and other photo editing apps. On the right-hand side here in Library View, which is where we are at the moment, we have a histogram, which shows us the color values and luminance and things like that inside the picture. We have things like Quick Develop, where we can quickly apply any preset to our image without going into develop mode. If we know exactly which preset we want, you could use one of those as a starting point. We also have things like keywords, where we can add different keywords for managing large collections of images and searching for images as well. If I jump into develop mode, I get a different set of controls. So on the left-hand side here, I now get all my presets. And you can see I've got lots of different presets. Mousing over a preset gives me a quick view of what that preset's going to do to my image. I can take snapshots for editing pictures in different ways and then flipping between those snapshots to compare them. I also have a history function here, so I can move back and forward in time depending on if I want to go back and undo something that I did earlier in the editing process. On the right hand side we have our editing tools, which I will look at in much more detail as we go on. You can see there are various different parameters here. You've got basic stuff, you've got cropping and filtering, and as you move down you have all kinds of other color controls, and so all your editing is done in the right hand column here. If I right click on a picture, I can basically access lots and lots of shortcuts, like showing an image in the Finder, jumping to different collections, editing in different applications if I like, depending on what I have installed on my system, adding things to a quick collection, and so forth. We'll look at these in more detail as we go on. There are also, of course, key commands for various frequently performed operations, like adding pictures to a quick collection is B. If I press the Y key, I can get a before and after view. If I come out of there by pressing Y again, I go back into my main view. Down at the bottom here is my film strip, and these are all the pictures that are in my current catalogue. So what we'll look at next is how to create a new catalogue, how to import some images, and how to add them to a quick collection.